Oh boy, I really want to learn Korean. Where to begin? Well, I've been trying to figure that out in the year and a half that I've been in Korea. um, I will say I have accumulated these different books here since I've been here. I'm not saying I have read through or that I have learned Korean. I'm very much trying to figure it out, but I have gone through and looked through these, and I've been trying to establish how I will tackle learning Korean. Um, and hopefully, in the next, year plus that I have in Korea, I will learn the language. So, starting off, how does somebody learn a language? You learn in a very natural way, right? When you're young, you don't learn it through reading and writing first, you learn through speaking and listening. Those are the four basic areas, and the first two that you focus on as a child are speaking and listening. So, which one of these focuses on speaking and listening? They're all books. Pimsluer Korean, with my beautiful handwriting there, is focused on speaking and listening. It is entirely in that realm. You can get there's like 3 big units of this course. If you're on Audible, you could use 5 credits to get the first one. And after you go through and you master that, keep moving on. And that's what I would do. Since I've been in Korea, I picked up the ability to read out the characters in the alphabet and whatnot. And that's pretty easy because it's an alphabet, right? As long as you understand the alphabet, you can figure it out. But if you don't want to learn the alphabet the hard way, just by being in Korea for a long time, if you're coming here and you're wanting to learn it in advance, or if you're already here and you're wanting to learn it, I would go with this book right here, Korean Made Easy Starter. Because basically, and it says right here, it's a 20-hour course. It's all focused on reading. And, it's got little exercises. It kind of looks like a little kid's book, which is perfectly fine, right? If you're learning how to read the alphabet, that's how you should do it. And I just want to kind of turn to the table of contents here. There's multiple different ones. Like after this, I have the second one right there. But there we go. There's a table of contents. The basic breakdown. It teaches you introduction to Hangul, vowels, consonants. I think it's a little more complicated, and that's all well and good. And then it has a bit more in-depth breakdown in English and then Korean. And I'm not reviewing the content of the book. It does have an audio CD right there at the back. But one thing I want to mention here that I would have changed if I was the author. It has these flashcards, and on flashcards, one side is in Korean, and on the other side is the phrase. In my own opinion, it would have been better to, if you're focused on the alphabet, it would have been better to focus on the alphabet, right? In fact, the 24 useful expressions, well, there's 24, I believe, letters in the Korean alphabet. I could be wrong. They should have just done flashcards for the Korean alphabet. Literally just have the character, and then on the other side, how to pronounce this character. I think that would have made much more sense if that's what your focus is. But reading, that's a good way to start. And then this book is a continuation of this and focuses more on actual word. Let me just go to table of contents because there's no point in flipping through all the material. Here we go. Focuses on these topics. So basic things that are pretty useful to know. And there's the situations, I guess. Giving directions, although most times you're asking for directions. Oh, well, okay, no, giving directions for the taxi. Okay, yeah, that's definitely helpful. So this one seems very practical. Has a CD as well. So my recommendation so far is, in terms of speaking and listening, starting off, the Pimsluer Korean. In terms of reading, Korean Made Easy. Now, obviously, these two books and the audio course aren't going to cover everything in the world, right? And if you're looking for alternatives, there's alternatives. So, there's your classroom-focused books. There's Ewha Korean, Sogang Korean, and there's a third one called Yonsei that I do not own. Yonsei, I don't like their books. For whatever reason, too much of the instruction is in Korean, and to me that's just kind of odd. Sogang seems pretty well balanced in that it has it has even a little grammar book that I just kind of threw on the inside there. But it has a textbook, and then it has a workbook. Same thing with the Ewha series. It has the textbook, the workbook, and a grammar book. My main criticism with this series is the workbook is in Korean. That's a problem. It seems weird to kind of use English on the cover, workbook 1-1, and literally there's no English to be found whatsoever. So I'm not sure what the instructions are here. I can kind of figure it out for some of them, but you shouldn't expect that. So, that's a problem with this. Like this one, you kind of still need a teacher. Again, this is for the 1-1. I'm not looking at the later issues. This one, I didn't have that problem, but the problem with Sogang is it basically is made for a classroom setting. It's very focused on conversation, group conversation. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's a very good and healthy thing. The workbook and the audio component, because this has audio and this has audio as well. The audio in this is very good. I can't comment on the audio on this. I haven't had a chance to listen through it. But ultimately, I've heard good things about both of these. So, maybe if for some reason I'm getting bored with these two books, I will probably comb through these and just see kind of which one piques my interest more at that given point in time. Then there's Korean Made Simple. There's a workbook, and there's a textbook that's a little more thicker. This one is kind of the more natural one for English language learners. Because the guy that is teaching this, the Billy Go, he's American. I guess the main thing that I disliked about this, and it's kind of stupid. It's honestly kind of stupid, but it's the way he pronounces this letter. Now, it's not him. You do see it both ways, but he teaches it in the way that he teaches this letter, the h, in this way. But it just makes much more sense to me to teach it this way and then to say, well, you can also see it as this, because this, I always think, ong, which this does not look like ong. This looks like So this is still kind of confusing too. I can't, maybe it's just because I don't fully know the language, but when I try to read a sign, I can figure out the h noise much better when I see it written this way than when I see it written this way, because the character at the top there is more typically associated with the o noise, or o phoneme. Again, maybe I'm just ignorant. I probably am, so I apologize. But that I'm not discounting the book as a result of that. That's just like a small error. Not small error. That's a small minutia that I personally have a problem with. That's not an error that's actually correct. It's just a pedagogical decision he made in terms of teaching the language, because you see it used the first way all throughout the book. So, not a bad book, but yeah. And he has, I think, three other issues, 1, 2, and 3. Talk to Me in Korean, there's 10 of these. These look very straightforward when I look through at the very front. and I can't really comment on them. They have audio that's available as an MP3. My main comment is I don't like the illustrations. That's a stupid comment. I love these illustrations, by the way. I love the Billy Go illustrations. But I just don't like the ones here. They honestly seem very, there's a lot of meme potential there. So I don't know. Not saying that's discounting the information. In fact, Talk to Me in Korean is very popular with people. And in fact, if you're watching this and you like this book series, or you like the resources they put out, please comment telling me why you like it. And in fact, I have, I think two more books here. Actually, this one is by both the Talk to Me in Korean and Billy Go. Common mistakes Korean learners make, and it just seems like it's a lot of grammar points. So that's something that, eventually I could find useful, I'm sure. So it's these two who are very prolific online with their education, and they're offering their points here. I want to mention this book. So if you're not liking the approach to learning how to read, you can use this one, which is by the Talk to Me in Korean folks as well. And then one more book I want to mention by them is this My Daily Routine in Korean, which I really enjoy. It's like the everyday slice of life stuff, from waking up to going to bed, right? I like that. That's very practical. And the way in which it approaches, it's not telling you how these are going to be pronounced. You already should know how to read in Korean to pronounce these. So you're going to have to already have read this to understand this. But I think this is a very useful thing to know, because it's sort of like the practical, everyday slice of life stuff, right? The language of the common man, if you will. So this just seems very useful. So, and it's small. Who likes lugging around a big, bunch of textbooks, right? Something small, something light, and it has pictures. Who doesn't like pictures? All right. Now, what's left here? These ones. So, Korean grammar and use. I've heard a lot of good things about. I cannot comment on it, but from all the good things that I've heard about it, it essentially seems like a must. Excuse me. It essentially seems like a must purchase. Starting out, no. In fact, I've not had to I've not used this at all yet, so I'm not commenting on it. But from everyone else I've seen, it seems like a must purchase. And then there's these two. So these two, I like visual dictionaries, and this one is essentially that. It's not every single word visualized. In fact, many of them, as you're seeing here, is not visualized, but there's many that are. So I think it takes some of the major ones, giving them words, giving them pictures, and then having phrases. I don't know, it seems like a healthy mix of stuff here, so I like that. I like that a lot. And the illustrations are pretty cute. And it has free MP3, as it says. And then there's a counterpart to this book as well, Basic Korean Conversation. So eventually down the road, when you want to expand from just memorizing vocabulary to memorizing, conversations, you could look through this one, which also has some vocabulary. So, okay. They seem kind of two peas in a pod here. Ultimately, again, where do you start for all these books? Well, just get the Pimsluer Korean. Start with that. You can't go wrong with that. From there, Korean Made Easy. Can't go wrong with this. And then from there, well, which one do you think is better for you to learn from? Ultimately, once you learn, some basic speaking and listening skills to get you started, and once you learn some basic, reading skills to get you started, you need to pick your course. And the courses that are generally the most popular are these ones at the top. So, pick your poison. Sogang, Ewha, Billy Go, Talk to Me in Korean, right? There's others out there, but those are the most popular ones. And then, of course, a grammar and dictionary. And then, there's other ones, right? In fact, I would probably throw the basic mistakes one in with the Korean grammar, just because, it's the same thing. It's all about grammar. Daily routine, it's kind of over there with these books. So, yep, that's my video. If you have any comments about these books or have suggestions for other books, please let me know. I am trying to learn. I am starting to learn, and I'm starting with this myself. And as I go along, my opinion will probably change, as this whole thing this is an uneducated man's opinion about learning Korean. So if you already know Korean and you have suggestions, or if you're learning Korean and have suggestions, please let me know, because I could use them.